What happens when high interest rates collide with high home prices? Well, not much buying, not much selling, and a big market slowdown. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Summer Aston, a realtor in the beautiful Boise, Idaho area, and I'm sure you've heard by now that interest rates are above 7%. That's the highest they've been in 20 years. And home prices, well, they've dropped since last year. They haven't dropped enough to offset the high rates. So let's dive into what effect that is having on the Boise housing market and a little bit of what home buyers and home sellers can expect with the Boise housing market this fall. So first, let's go over a few of the numbers that just came out from the Boise Regional Realtors Association for July of 2023. The median sales price sits at $540,000 for Ada County, which is 8.5% lower than last July, but only $5,000 lower than last month. And as I've said in my past videos, while that does reflect home prices dropping somewhat, it is a larger reflection of which homes are selling, and that is the lower priced homes at the more affordable price points, and that's bringing the median price point down. We will see median sales prices dropping as we head towards winter for a few reasons. So one, home prices always come down a bit in the fall and winter as the demand lessens. Two, if builders offer more incentives to move the end of year inventory, that will reflect in the prices. And three, I do expect that the median and average sales prices to drop, mostly due to the fact that as interest rates rise, affordability decreases, and so more people will be buying more homes at the lower price point, and there will be fewer sales above $600,000. And there are several reasons why individual home prices aren't falling all across the board right now, with the biggest reason being the lack of inventory. So for some perspective, in January of 2021, we had our lowest inventory of 269 homes in Ada County, and in July of 2007, we had the highest at 5,198 homes. In July of 2023, this just past July, we were at 1,469 on inventory with a 2.3 month supply. And last July, we actually had more inventory. We had about 2,400 homes. So this July, we have about 40% less inventory than last July. But this July, we also have about 22% fewer pendings, showing that even though inventory is lower now than it was last year, buyer demand is also lower now than it was last year. In fact, our existing home inventory is getting low enough that builder inventory now exceeds existing home inventory, but builders are being extremely cautious. Remember, if you watched my market update videos from the beginning of the year, builders were pulling significantly fewer building permits in early 2023 to try to avoid having inventory sitting around this fall. So while the builder inventory is outpacing existing homes, by no means should you expect a repeat of 2007 and have thousands of builder homes sitting there without sales this fall and winter. That doesn't mean builders won't be trying to sell and offer incentives. They are offering incentives and they want to begin build jobs, but they don't really want to build specs and have inventory sitting around. So they are really focusing on build jobs once a customer orders them and focusing incentives on things to help with the rate lock and the cost of the interest rate over the time of the build job more than lowering prices. There are a few incentives on the spec homes, usually in the form of closing cost contributions. Now, I do say that with a caveat, not all builders in the Boise area are offering incentives. In fact, we are seeing quite a difference in what builders are offering. And I think that it's really based on the building company's personal finances and business model and what they can tolerate. We certainly do have builders, mostly the larger companies like Toll Brothers, or even more local large companies like Boise Hunter, who serve a higher price point and have had price reductions and are offering large incentives. But then we have others who are just not budging much and just holding out for a buyer who can pay. So as I've said before, our existing home inventory is low because potential sellers don't want to sell and give up a 3% rate for a rate over 7%. Most could probably actually afford that with all the equity that they have, but it is still a hard pill to swallow. And as interest rates rise, if they continue to rise through the end of the year, then I think our inventory will lessen with even fewer people being willing to sell, which will keep home prices higher for now. So of course, we will have a rise in inventory as we always do at the end of August, and things slow down anyways. And we will have the usual price reductions if a seller really needs to sell. But overall, I mean that home prices are not going to drastically drop through the end of the year. They'll stay high relative to affordability. I think the Boise housing market will really just come to a very sluggish pace until either people accept the higher rates and figure out ways to work with it, or the rates drop, or there's enough financial pressure for our home prices to drop enough to outweigh the higher rates. And so you may be asking, why do we still have buyers? Well, people are still coming from Boise, from out of state for a better way of life, and that's still the bulk of our buyers. And our biggest buyer market right now is the cash retiree buyers. They're still going to be trucking along and moving to Idaho for a better place to retire. And in fact, the homes that they're looking for are in low supply and high demand, and sometimes they're still seeing multiple offers. Our second biggest buyer market is the first-time home buyer market. So why would they be buying with these high rates? Well, because they don't have as much competition from investors, and they know that if they buy a house they can stay in for several years, then they can refinance in the future and not have to deal with the bloodbath that will come if we have those lower rates again, especially with lower prices. I mean, it would really only take rates lowering to about the 5s to bring on the competition, and with our current low inventory, it could be 2021 all over again. I know many real estate investors who sold out in 2021, and they're just sitting hoping for prices to drop enough so that they can swoop in and buy again. Our first-time home buyers will never be able to compete with that if it happens. So it sounds horrible to say, but it is a good time to buy for some people. It really is. If you can afford the payment and you're in it for the long haul, buying now and refinancing in the future will be so much better than trying to compete when we get lower rates, which will raise prices again anyways. So it really is best if potential buyers focus on payment affordability right now and not get stuck on the interest rate. And if you're thinking about selling, well, just be prepared. Unless you have the type of home that appeals to retirees, be prepared for it to be on the market longer. We're averaging about 25 to 30 days on the market right now, but that will get longer through the end of this year. So be prepared to offer buyers some closing cost contributions to help buy down their rate. And usually when you sell, you become a buyer. So the same advice I just said about buyers would apply to you when you are the buyer. It does stink to give up a low rate for a high rate, but if it makes sense for you to move now and you have the equity and you can afford the payment, then it could be a good move for you to do it now and refinance later rather than wait until rates drop and the competition begins again. And keep in mind that while you are going to get less for your house now than you would have in 2021, most of you sellers are sitting on huge amounts of equity that you can leverage for your benefit. You can even use some of it to buy down your rate if it makes sense. Of course, my team and I are happy to consult with you on your options and see if this fall is a good time for you to buy or sell, and discuss some options in case you feel stuck in your current house and trapped by the rates. We also have many resources for you if you're thinking of moving to Boise, videos on my YouTube channel all about the Boise area. You can visit my website for more resources, free downloadable guides, follow us on Instagram, and you can reach out to us at summerastonrealestate.com if you want to schedule a call, and we are happy to help. So have a super day, and I'll see you next time.